Welcome back, True Seeker. The news broke yesterday that former Cal Bear and NFL star wide receiver in football, again, the news broke that Sean Dawkins passed away at the relatively young age of 52, and they're saying it's cardiac arrest. His heart stopped. And again, this is Gematria Effect News. In Gematria, the word heart itself equals 52. His heart stopped. He's dead at 52. There's a song out there called Gematria, the killing name. I'm going to show what Gematria has to do with the upcoming NFL season schedule, his death, and all four of the teams that he played for, in light of a pattern we've been talking about all season with football deaths having a narrative that goes back to Baltimore. Sean Dawkins is remembered for playing for four teams, but namely the Colts that started in Baltimore. And again, I'm going to bring this all together. If you're new here, look up the songs Gematria, the killing name, and look up the song Murder by Numbers by the Police, where killing is the sport of the elected, and it's as simple as ABC is 1, 2, 3. That's what Gematria is, the practice of coding numbers into words. The word heart, it's very easy to add up. If you take the alphabetic order, A's 1, B's 2, C's 3, eventually get to H, which is the eighth letter. H is 8. E is the fifth letter. A is the first. R is the 18th. T is the 20th. So you have 8 plus 5 plus 1 plus 18 plus 20, 52. We talked about these same things many a times. But here's the deal. Sean Dawkins played for four NFL teams, started his career with Indianapolis in 93. You guys remember what I was talking about 2 years ago with the death of the Colts lineman born in 93, how his newborn child died, and it was in a big Saturn ritual. Saturn has that gematria of 93. There's a 30-year return of Saturn in astrological beliefs, and it's connected to death. It begins in your 27th year of life and completes in your 30th year of life because things move very slowly in the sky. They say that's why so many sports stars, or I should say rock stars, entertainers have died at age 27. But anyhow, Saturn has a 30-year return. In Gematria, Saturn equals 93. We talk about the Saturn connection with the Colts year after year. Last year, they had the crazy comeback game with the Vikings, the first game of Saturnalia. The first team to play on Saturnalia was the Colts. Anyway, Saturn has a 30-year return. He's dead 30 years after getting drafted into the NFL in 93, in April of 93. It's 30 years later, he's dead. But these four teams right here, Indianapolis that started in Baltimore, Seattle, recently Nancy Pelosi's brother died in recent years, and he was big man in Baltimore, mayor there. I just remember that the day he died was the day of a Baltimore Seahawks game, which was a surprising outcome that day. If you want to go back and look at the day Nancy Pelosi's brother died. Of course, Nancy Pelosi, big in government, San Francisco. Anyhow, Jacksonville. He played for Jacksonville and New Orleans. New Orleans, the big tourist attraction is what's going on around. This is in New Orleans. The tourist attraction is Jackson Square. Everybody's in Jackson Square. Everything's going on around Jackson Square, named after Andrew Jackson. And of course, Jacksonville's named after Andrew Jackson. So I started looking at this and I started thinking about New Orleans and Seattle and beastquake. So I just started looking at this, right? And I said, let me look at the schedule and see when these teams play each other. I want you to go through the progression of how I got to what I'm now presenting you, because this was my thought process. Let me see if these teams are playing each other and if there's anything interesting about it. So I looked at the Saints schedule and I saw that on October 19th, the Saints played Jacksonville. So I said, Jackson Square, Jacksonville. We've talked about interesting things with these teams in the past. And it does stand out to me that the game's on the 19th, too, because there's only two teams in the whole league that have a gematria connection in 19, and it's the Saints in Seattle, which we'll talk about. Remember, the COVID-19, the first case in the world was in Seattle outside of China. The first coach with the disease or illness or whatever you want to call it was Sean Payton of the Saints. These are things we talked about then. And anyhow, they play on October 19th, and that's an interesting number of days from the death, which we'll get to, where I'll just put it from his death to that game is 71 days. 71 days. Catholic equals 71. Saints are Catholic. This year's upcoming Super Bowl is on the Vatican's birthday, February 11th. It'll be the 95th birthday of the Vatican. And again, we'll remind why that 95 is so important. But the Saints played Jacksonville, and then it gets even more interesting because then the very next game is against the Colts. And of course, that was the Archie Manning Bowl after Katrina. Saints get their first ever Super Bowl win over Archie Manning's son, Peyton Manning, who was clearly throwing the game, tossing balls just back to the secondary in the National Fixed League. But the mockery, too, And now you got the Mannings doing bet MGM ads, helping the NFL make even more money in these leagues and in this corrupt, sick scheme that also involves ritual murder. But anyhow, so the Saints and Colts are playing, right? So these are his teams. He played for the Saints and Jaguars. He played for the Saints and Colts. And I said, okay. So I looked and I said, well, the Saints don't play the Seahawks this year. So then I thought, well, I wonder what teams the Seahawks are playing when those games are going on. October 19th is a primetime game. So that'll be the only game going that day. That Saints-Jacksonville is also primetime. October 29th, though, and October 29th is the more interesting day for the Seahawks, as we'll get to. Look at who the Seahawks are playing. On October 29th, the Seahawks are playing the Cleveland Browns. Now, remember, the Colts started in Baltimore, and all year we've been talking about all these Baltimore-related deaths for the NFL. We've been covering them all year, all offseason, nonstop. Jerry Richardson, Ray Lewis's son, and several other things. Jim Brown, who played for the Browns that eventually became the Baltimore Ravens. So that's the thing about the Seahawks playing the Browns. The old Cleveland Browns became the Baltimore Ravens in 96, that infamous year. We're looking at so many things right now with 96. Kobe coming in the league, Tupac's death, Tupac's hometown, Baltimore. The rumors that they were going to do the Tupac hologram at the LA Super Bowl where they had all the rappers, but they didn't do it. Do they save it for Super Bowl 58? I mean, they even reported in the mainstream that they were going to do the Tupac hologram for Super Bowl 56 at halftime, and it didn't happen. So that means the technology's there. When are they saving it for? Tupac's hometown is Baltimore. And again, why is Baltimore so important this season? In Gematria, the most simple cipher. A is 1 up to Z is 26. Baltimore equals 95. Baltimore, about the most Catholic city in America. You have the Saints. Can't get any more Catholic than a name like Saints. And again, you just got something interesting going on with the Saints and Vegas this year because Vegas is hosting the upcoming Super Bowl, but it was originally supposed to be hosted by the Saints. And then the Raiders, who are hosting it, they got rid of their longtime quarterback, Derek Carr, who's now the Saints quarterback. And the death we just talked about recently, Mr. Campbell of the NFL, who was drafted from Maryland, where Baltimore is, and who was drafted by the Saints, but played his career with the Raiders. And his birthday is May 8th, 5-8. Just died recently by the numbers. One of these many deaths. And if you've been following the pattern with Baltimore deaths, there's been a lot of 104 in them. It's the 104th NFL season upcoming. Jim Brown's 104. And again, his Browns team became the Ravens. But yeah, now we're talking about a star, Sean Dawkins, who made his name with the Colts that started in Baltimore. And look at this. This is the clincher. This is the clincher about October 29th, the day the Seahawks are playing the Browns, and the day that the Saints are playing the Colts. Now, Sean Dawkins, he wore 4 different jersey numbers in his career. 87 with the Colts, 86 with the Saints, 81 with the Seahawks, and 84 with Jacksonville. But that 81 with the Seahawks, check this out. Those October 29th games are 81 days after the day he died. He died August 9th. The news broke August 11th. I'll get to why I think they saved the news for 2 days after the fact for the 11th when football is about 11 on 11. That's 22 men on the field, and he was dead 22 years after he retired. And the year he retired, 2001, was also the year Baltimore beat the Giants in the Super Bowl. You had a mass shooting this past summer, and it was in Baltimore, and it was the big news story, and it was in the Brooklyn neighborhood of Baltimore. And we looked into how they had a new police chief that was made the police chief on Brooklyn Day in New York. And we're like, that's weird. Brooklyn Day in Baltimore, Brooklyn Day in New York. And the way that works out. And there might be something about the Orioles because they got their first World Series against the Dodgers, who started in Brooklyn. So again, there's a larger ritual unfolding here, and the Orioles are having a really good season, and they've had a lot of games by the numbers. Again, what I'm trying to get you to see in this video is how this all comes together. But this 81, check this out. Again, from his date of death to those games on October 29th, it's a span of 82 days, which we'll come to. The span of 82 also matters. But from August 9th, his death, to October 29th, that's 81 days later. Of course, ritual equals 81. Look at the name Dawkins. Compare the name Dawkins and ritual and gematria. In the most simple cipher, A is 1, B is 2, C is 3. Dawkins equals 81, just like ritual. They're an exact match. And with the alphabetic order and numerology, they both equal 27, like the 27 club, like how Saturn's return starts in the 27th year of a person's life and concludes in the 30th. And then Dawkins is 108, where ritual's 81 in reverse. Same key digits are there. And remember, 108 special. It's not arbitrary that there's 108 double stitches on a baseball or that there's 108 game balls sewn for the Super Bowl. Again, in baseball, major league equals 108, but the phrase geometry equals 108. And all of these sports pay tribute to sacred geometry. The football, for example, is the shape of the Vesica Pisces, the most symbolic thing in sacred geometry. And again, it's a lot like an eyeball, which is another topic. But 108 is a spiritual number too. A lot of spiritualities recognize 108, 108 prayer beads, 108 sun salutations. A lot of science textbooks explain that the diameter of the sun, that times 108 is the distance from Earth to the sun, and the diameter of the moon, that from the moon to the Earth, is 108 times as well. And that's how you get the eclipses that happen. That's what they say, because the size, even though the moon's much smaller than the sun, the distance makes it equal, so they overlap. That's the scientific explanation. It also comes back to 108. And the word geometry, it's 108 forwards and backwards, so it has perfect symmetry in gematria, which means geometry in language. But anyhow, Dawkins 81, 27, 45. For people in Seattle, think of Kurt Cobain and Lane Staley, both dead on the same day, both dead on April 5th, 4-5. Cobain in the 27 Club. Lane Staley was of Alice in Chains, and Kurt Cobain and Nirvana, both big Seattle bands, but both dead on the same day, but years apart. I mean, what are the odds? Ritual. And we talk about these numbers a lot. And this is a major ritual. His death is the latest major ritual. And again, if you count the span of 82 days, if you make it 82, just notice how Seattle and Saints overlaps with 82. I think when Sean Payton got COVID-19, if I remember right, it was 82 days from his birthday. And COVID also equals 82 for the record. Look up the Merck COVID pill. It has an 82 on the side of it. And there's a lot more to it. But when you run the alphabetic order in reverse, game is 82 and 19, like Seattle and Saints. And they're the only teams in the NFL that have the 19 connection. And that first game, again, because we measured to the October 29th game, but that primetime game, Jaguars Saints, on the 19th. And again, we got to look more into it. Again, this game's 71 days after the death, Catholic 71. If you're new here, Catholic, again, 4 ciphers, right? Catholic equals 71, 35, 145, 46. All very interesting numbers. JFK, the first Catholic president, number 35, killed at age 46. Number 35, killed at age 46. That's how we predicted Joe Biden would become number 46, elected 46 weeks after the Pope's birthday. It was the 59th presidential election, and Pope Francis equals 59, and Benedict stepped down on the 59th day of the year for him. But Catholic equals 46 as well. Joe Biden became number 46, elected 46 weeks after the Pope's birthday, elected, just like how these guys, when they win the Super Bowl, they're the greatest that season. It's all part of the 6 script. That's what I'm trying to say. It's all rigged. It's all one big rigged show. Jesuits pulling all angles. And that's how we continue to show how all this stuff's connected, from sports to news to politics to ritual murder, year after year, with these perfect webs, these repetitive patterns. But anyway, Catholic, 3546. We covered that. The 145 is the one I didn't mention. And why that's so interesting, in the Catholic Bible, it's different than the Protestant Bible. There's 73 books, but there's 46 books in the Old Testament, more than the Protestant. The Protestant has 39. So the difference is with the Old Testament, the New Testament, both of them have 27. Just like Matthew equals 27, the first book in the New Testament. Like LeBron, King James, the Bible named after King James, scores 27 on the real King James's birthday. And then Nate Thurman's dead 27 days later. Played for the Warriors and Cavs in a big ritual. But the 145, there's 46 books in the Catholic Old Testament, which creates 145 more chapters. Here, let me just pull up the Gematria calculator real quick. Get on my website, calculator, free to use, free to download for Android Store and Apple Store. And if it's not downloading yet on the Android Store, it'll restart downloading any day now again. It needed an update because I guess Android updated their store, but it'll be here. It's still working on the Apple. Again, you can get this calculator to decode words. Catholic gives you all four ciphers at once: 71, 35, 145, 46. Gematrinator.com has the same calculator. You'll get the exact same numbers. It's a little bit colorful and bigger. That's my website on a computer. Again, it's designed for a phone, so that's why it's not as big. That's why when you're on a laptop, it's probably better to use a site like this because it's easier to see. But Catholic, just like all we talked about, all these numbers. Saints are Catholic. 71 days, prime time. And is that a Thursday? Hold on, let me check something real quick. Is that a Thursday? Is that a Thursday night game? Let's go back and see what day of the week that is. I think that's a Thursday game. So the news broke August 11th, but the stories he died at August 9th. That's a Thursday game. And, you know, Thursday, always, we call it 35 Thursday. You see how Catholics 35 and 46? So is Thursday. Big numbers on Thursday. And the word I is 35, which is the shape of a football. And the first winning score of Super Bowl I with the Packers was 35. Founded by Vince Lombardi was those Green Bay Packers. Jesuit, who died unexpectedly at Jesuit Georgetown. And again, that's the point, right? Again, the Jesuits serve the Pope. They're playing a game with us every day of the year, 52 weeks in the year, a calendar named after a Pope. What's Pope equal in Gematria? 52, right? 52 and 25? 52 and 25. How many touchdowns did Sean Dawkins have in his NFL career? 25, right? It's part of the story. Dead at 52, 25 career touchdowns. The news save for the 11th. And again, the formal title of the Jesuits is the Society of Jesus, which also has that 71 like Catholic. Sean Dawkins died 235 days after the Pope's birthday. We were just talking about what they did with they cloned Tyrone and Jamie Foxx and him speaking out and saying they killed Jesus, and just again how it's just another Jesuit ritual to keep the same storylines in the news: anti-Semitism, division amongst race and religion, you know, all this low vibration crap being orchestrated, ritual murder, all by a code that goes back to the same people all day, every day. And just more familiar patterns I haven't even talked about this far into the video. From his February 3rd birthday to his death, August 9th, 187 days. Homicide code, 187. And again, we're talking about the Jesuits, right? If you drop the, which is also fair, Society of Jesus is 187. It's also 79. I'm sorry. Hold on. Before we get into the death, I just realized I have to go back to Sean Dawkins in 81. I didn't even finish it all the way through. I didn't even finish it. So again, the big game where it comes together with all four Sean Dawkins teams. Actually, you know what? I left out one team on October 29th, didn't I? We did talk about where all four teams factor in back-to-back weeks. But let's look at something. We left out. So on October 29th, we got the Saints and Colts we played for and the Seahawks. What we're missing is Jacksonville's schedule on October 29th. I just realized I overlooked that. There's always more. Let's see what we see for October 29th with the Jags. They're playing Pittsburgh. Division rival Baltimore. You know, just with regards to the whole 81 thing, since it's 81 days later, Pittsburgh Steelers is an 81 team. It's also a 108 team. See, that's where the next level is going to be for this one. We need to go back. I'm not going to do it in this stream, but we got to go back eventually and look at Sean Dawkins' big games, games against division rivals, some games against Sean Dawkins versus the Steelers. There could be something else there. Could it be in a playoff game? So there's, again, because this is what we're showing year after year, the ritualistic deaths, how they're, and if you guys are just watching this video and haven't watched the other one, go back and look at the former dead Steeler and 49er who died synced up perfectly with the upcoming opener between the Niners and Steelers. Who did the Texans play opening day? It was, oh my goodness. Who's the quarterback who just drowned, who we just covered? Ryan Mallett. Ryan Mallett played for the Ravens and the Texans, and his death is perfectly synced with the Ravens and Texans opener. And I feel like there's one other of these deaths that we covered this offseason that's just like that. But this is what we keep showing, how these people, the day they die, it's synced with their former teams playing each other in a ritualistic game. I'm talking about the same thing over and over with all these deaths. For people who deny the work and continue to deny it, how can you continue to look at the way all this lines up and just write through a number? You know what I mean? So, okay. Going to have to explore more where the Steelers fit in. Is it just being in the same division as Baltimore? I think it's more than that. The 187. When I was talking about the 187 thing when I realized I didn't finish the 81 thing. Oh, hold on, man. I'm bad. I realized I still didn't finish the 81 thing. Hold on. This is the best part about the 81 thing. I'm going to finish without the best part. Look at this. Okay. Sean Dawkins. January 8th. The day of the beastquake. How's that date written? 8/1, right? 8/1, like 81. He played for the Seahawks and the Saints. He played for both of these teams. And, the Beast and 81, where have we talked about that before? Haven't we talked about so many times with regards to Kobe scoring his career high 81 in his 666th game? Remember, Kobe's full name, Kobe Bean Bryant, 81, right? Also 54. They're putting up the statue, 8/8/2024, 54 months after his death. He died the Sunday before Super Bowl 54 at age 41 on the 26th. Mahomes won that Super Bowl on his 41st pass with his 26th completion and number 26 to put the game away. But 54/81, mark of the beast, same phrase, 54/81, right? The beastquake was in Seattle on the 47th parallel. Beast. You see how Beast is 47? They saved the news of his death for the 11th of the month. Beast also 34. If you go back and look at the beastquake, it was January 8th, 2011. 11, right? Beast 11, Mark of the Beast 8/1. The Seahawks were 7-9. By the way, from August 11th, the day they saved the news for, to all these games, instead of it being 81 days later, because we measured from his death, then it becomes 79 days later. Murder, 79, like Society of Jesus. But January 8th, 8/1, in the year 11, Beast again has 11 and 34 and 47. Seattle's on the 47th parallel, and the 34 piece fits because 34 was the winning score after the beastquake touchdown, with 340 left in the NFC wildcard game. Now, how many times over the years, all across these sports leagues, we've been showing how they got these perfect rituals synced up and the clock stops at just the right spot, at least in the story. But if you are watching the game yourself, you're like, it almost seemed like they stopped the clock a hair early, or, man, they let the clock run 2 extra seconds? Why? And then you're reading this story and you're like, oh, 2 extra seconds made that line up nicely. Because you have to remember, I've known about Gematria since 2013. For the decade before that, I saw something was going on with numbers, especially in news stories. Seemed like sports too. Sports was harder to understand. But I was like, what is it about the number rituals? And then when I found this, again, it makes so much sense. Remember, you just had the All-Star game in Seattle. And I was there at the All-Star game, and I showed how on the banner on the stadium, they had to put the coordinates like in the 2023 MLB All-Star in Seattle. On that poster, right by all the writing, was the coordinates of Seattle, 47th parallel, 122nd meridian. And think about what happened. The National League hadn't won for 11 years, and then the game was on the 11th, and they broke that streak. And the American League stayed on 47 wins all time. And they had to have on the sign that the game was on the 47th parallels. The American League stayed on 47 wins. And again, we pointed this out before the game was played. Just obvious. Obvious. Beast. They keep paying tribute to the beast. And by the way, you know, I just talked about yesterday how I'm realizing there's something way big to 60. I mean, I've known things about 60, but it's never been like a number that I talk about religiously on this channel, like say 33 or 47 or 74, all the killing in 38 and 83, or all the information about 201 and the Jesuit related numbers. 60 is a number I've always known about, but again, if you missed what I said yesterday, remember, Moses Malone died at age 60. He was the first player drafted into pro basketball out of high school by Utah, the Stars. And then Kobe finished his career scoring 60 against Utah. And Kobe's from Philly, where Moses Malone was MVP in 83. And as he won the NBA Finals over Kobe's future team, the Lakers, and he swept them 4-0 with the quote, faux, 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 that they would do it. Faux for 4. But those NBA finals started 60 days after Moses Malone's birthday, and they ended 281 days after Kobe Bryant's birthday, which is the 60th prime number. And again, in this whole Kabbalistic code of letters and numbers, prime numbers are very important too. And Daryl Dawkins died right before Moses Malone. He was the first player drafted out of high school to the NBA. Moses Malone was the first just drafted to pro basketball, period, to the ABA. But the first two players out of high school both die right before Kobe's last season, where he finished against Utah, scoring 60. In Gematria, Malone equals 60. The most simple way, when you use the numerology, Karl Malone is 60. Karl Malone with Utah, Moses Malone, drafted by Utah. The name Daryl Dawkins equals 60 in Gematria. And when you write out the word 4, it equals 60. And again, Kobe was 4 years old still when Moses Malone won. It ended 281 days after his 4th birthday. 60th prime. 4 has Gematria 60. Moses Malone dead at 60. Daryl Dawkins equals 60. Jordan went 6-0 in finals and won his 4th in 96, the year Kobe came into the league. Kobe died the day after he fell to 4th in points scored when LeBron passed him in his hometown Philly, where Jordan finished his career. They're putting up the statue 4 years after Kobe's death. LeBron won his 4th championship the year Kobe died on Father-Daughter Day, 41 weeks after his own birthday, when Kobe died at 41 on the Pope's 41st day of his age while traveling from Catholic Mass. And I got to have it all down written in front of me. I can't keep it all straight in my head with all the 4s, but there's more. And the whole 460 thing. But in this case, Sean Dawkins, he dies on a date with 60 numerology, 8 plus 9 plus 20 plus 23. Indianapolis also has that Gematria 60. Order has that Gematria 60. Marshawn Lynch has that Gematria 60. And when you run it the other way, Marshawn Lynch is 66, like number of the beast for the beastquake star. And I noticed he's going to turn 38 next year. You might want to look out. 38's a fateful number for a lot of people. I have a feeling that he'll live on, though, Marshawn Lynch. They still, that if he died, that would hurt Seattle so bad, because that guy's just in everything in Seattle. And he's just always popping up. He's just like Mr. Seattle Marshawn Lynch. And I know he's not even always up here, but that community loves Marshawn Lynch, and largely because of that beastquake moment. Oh, and don't forget what we documented the other year. It was just a couple seasons ago, and Russell Wilson was still in Seattle. It was a Seahawks-Saints game. And it was just comical because Russell Wilson did a QB sneak and rushed the ball in the end zone. And they go, oh, man, that's the first. Okay, let me rewind. Before that happened, on that drive, okay, here's exactly how it went. The Seahawks it was early in the game, and the Seahawks were playing well against the Saints. And they showed the highlight of when Seattle beat the Saints with the beastquake as the team that snuck into the playoffs because they were the best in the very terrible NFC West, and then beat these Super Bowl favored Saints, or one of the teams that was in the running. And a lot of hype with that Saints team. But Anyhow, they're showing that highlight, and then as soon as they get done with the highlight, Seattle's having this long offensive play. It's like as exciting as the beastquake, and then it ends with a tackle and a fumble, and the Saints pick up the ball and run it all the way back for a defensive touchdown. So as a Seattle fan, it just seemed like such like the perfect way to play with the emotions and the mind of the fan. They're reliving this great Seahawks moment. They're loving it. Then it comes off that highlight, and it's the biggest play of like, it wasn't just the game, like in the Seahawks season that far, just this huge offensive play, only for it to end with a turnover and a defensive touchdown. So just like a total rip your heart out, like, oh my God, what is going on? What are the odds of that? So then Seattle gets the ball back, and they go down the field, and they score on a QB sneak. Russell Wilson in the end zone, or maybe it was a 10-yard run. I can't remember exactly what it was, but Russell Wilson run the ball in the end zone. And they make a big deal about how long it's been, and instantly they have up the stat of the last time. It's like the graphic. It's like, how do you even have the graphic ready to go that fast? Does somebody type that fast to get all that information and the date and what the game was? But it's all just boom right there on the screen. Russell Wilson's last touchdown since this game, this day. So we were just watching, I had that video up in 5 seconds after it happened, like I do during the NFL season when I'm trying to wake people up to these in-game moments. But of course, I measured from the last touchdown to that touchdown exactly 666 days. I mean, are you kidding me? So he's on this major non-rushing touchdown drought of 666 days. The number of the beast, right after they're talking about the beastquake. And again, just knowing what we know about all this gematria and just how perfect the beastquake is. The numbers behind it. The script. But yeah, if I didn't say so, if I forgot to say so, I don't think I forgot. But Mark of the Beast 81, like Kobe being Bryant, if I didn't make the point that when he scored his career high 81, he did that in his 666 games, 666. The biblical workout he had called the 666 workout. Hold on, you guys. I got somebody at the door. I'll be right back. Okay. But yeah, just Kobe, 666 game, Mark of the Beast, all this same stuff over and over. And now that I think about it, let me check Russell Wilson. Yeah, Russell Wilson's also 54 and 81, just like that. And with regards to Marshawn Lynch about to turn 38, again, here's what's scary about that in light of the Seahawks history. So everybody protect Marshawn Lynch. Even though these guys sold us out and got a lot of money for it, I still don't think the ritual murder is right, Don't you guys think if we could stop the players who sold us out for being ritually murdered and say get them to speak out about how the game's rigged and we need to get some non-corrupt leagues and stop investing so much money and energy in all this BS? They're not going to do that, though, because it goes against their own interests. And almost everyone in our society is out for themselves solely. Anyway, here's what's scary about it. You remember how Colorado's 38? We have all these suspicious deaths connected to Colorado. Who just died recently that went to University of Colorado? Died in a big 83 ritual. It was one of the football players we covered. I got to go back through my notes, but we've talked about it so many times. When the Broncos Stadium caught on fire the other year, it was the 83rd day of the year. But remember, the Seahawks beat the Broncos in their 38th season. And then Russell Wilson, he went to the Broncos on March 8th. And led that team to a 3-8 record against the Panthers. Notice Panthers is also 38, like how the Broncos beat the Panthers in the golden anniversary of the Super Bowl, Super Bowl 50 on February 7th, the 38th day of the year. Notice how Gold's 38, the 49ers hosted it. San Francisco 50, the team that was once 5-0 in Super Bowls, hosted Super Bowl 50. 202 RIP Tony Bennett on the 202nd day of the year. He left his heart in San Francisco. San Francisco on the 122nd meridian. A lot of 76 rituals with that city, too, connected to Philly, the land of the 76ers. The Liberty Bell spent some time there. Again, if you're new here, I don't want to get into too many things because it's overload your mind, but understand these ciphers, these numbers, rituals play with these cities so many times. And if you weren't here for Super Bowl 50, we called that Super Bowl dead on, even who the MVP would be in October. But yeah, Panthers 38. Russell Wilson and the Broncos became 3-8 against the Panthers last year. It was obvious it was coming based on how important 38 was to that state, the history with the Seahawks and the Broncos, and also the Panthers who lost in Super Bowl 38 to the Patriots. Anyway. Is it starting to make sense with the, when we hear about how entertainers sold their soul for rock and roll, for the big money, to be the stars, even on the sports field, the sports stars have become like larger than rock stars in recent decades. Music used to be the thing in Seattle, but these days is definitely the Seahawks. And yeah, this is a major league ritual. So I know when these games pass, we're going to be coming right back here and pointing back to this man's death and the same old numbers. Look at how they even got to get this shot in here, right? They got to get this shot in here of Sean Dawkins. Is that not number 38 down on his knees in the background for the 49ers? You got number 21 like Jesuit and number 38. They got to put 38 back there. If you guys are new here, deadly number 38, death 38, murder 38, killing 38, RIP 38. Let me show you what they just did with Ryan Gosling, who was in Murder by Numbers. You know how we're always talking about the Murder by Numbers film and how right on the cover they code the 3883 when Murder's 38 and 83 and the song Murder by Numbers came out in 83? Ryan Gosling and Sandra Bullock are the star of these movies. And, of course, Ryan Gosling was just in the Barbie movie that's setting all these records. But Sandra Bullock just lost her longtime partner. And then a famous Gosling of the British band The Kinks just died 38 weeks into Ryan Gosling's age right after the Barbie movie. Again, I want people to see how this is bigger than just Sean Dawkins. This example, what I'm showing you is a language used by these people every single day. These people being the Jesuits, the Catholic Church, whose calendar we're on their time. English is credited to a Catholic monk if you look into it. Birth of Ramsey Abbey from the year 1011 AD. Oldest known English script goes back to Catholic Church. Okay? Calendar, Catholic. The Crusades, the Templars got all the knowledge for the Catholic Church. All this stuff from the Holy Land, where all this stuff goes back to and through all the way back to Babylon. It's not hard to see what's going on here. The game that's being played. But again, just how often it is played. I just want you to see this Gosling thing in light of how many times we talked about Murder by Numbers. Now you got John Gosling of the Kinks, dead exactly 38 weeks into Ryan Gosling's age. Ryan Gosling born November 12th. John Gosling dead August 4th. And notice, 38 weeks, right on the nose. 266 days like the Jesuit motto Isus Hominum Salvator. We're in the time of the first Jesuit Pope, the 266th. Murder by Numbers came out on the day Ignatius Loyola, the anniversary of Ignatius Loyola becoming the first superior general, April 19th, day of tragedy in history. Day the Revolutionary War began. It's been Jesuits in this country since the beginning. But that's what the other founders were trying to protect everybody from, the Jesuits. That's why the founders were worried about the Jesuit suppression ending. That's why Abraham Lincoln blamed the Civil War on the Jesuits. All this has been whitewashed from history. If you missed what I was saying about whitewashing the other day, you should go back and watch that video on GematriaEffectNews. We'll talk about it again. We were supposed to do the hip-hop show last night. Jonathan had family business. So whenever Jonathan's free, and it should be this weekend, we will do the 50th anniversary hip-hop show and hear the latest from Jonathan, who's been working on his book. And yeah, again, Jonathan's writing the book 38 Special. And by the way, right at the time the Barbie movie's coming out, they're breaking the news about how the original voice of Ken Doll's dead. He's lived his whole life to this ripe old age and just happens to die right as the movie comes out. Young and old, man. Young and old. Sick games going on all over the place. I'm going to have to do a double check on the... Oh, you know what's interesting about the Seahawks this year, actually? I'll tell you one thing that's interesting about the Seahawks. It's their 48th season. They won Super Bowl 48. And notice when you run it forward, Seattle Seahawks is 43, like they scored 43, beating Colorado, which is 43 when you run it the other way. Just like football's 43. Just like Yale's 43, American football. Credit to Walter Camp of Yale. Big number there with Yale and 43. Skull and Bones. The Tampa Bay Bucks, their logo looking a lot like Skull and Bones. The 43rd president. See how Yale's 43 like Florida? Brady went down to Florida at age 43 and won the Super Bowl. But he became a superstar after 9/11, the Patriot Act, in the time of Bush, the Skull and Bonesman from Yale. And again, that election for Bush came down to Florida, where his brother was the 43rd governor, and then he became number 43, and his daddy was the 43rd vice president. Him and his dad went to Yale and were in Skull and Bones. But yeah, everything we talked about, and dead 187 days after his birthday, too. Huge number with the Jesuits. Society of Jesus, 187. Holy Roman Empire, 187. DC was the Jesuit stronghold from the beginning, and that's why it's a sign of when the takeover happened, way back in the beginning, because the capital was Philly before they moved it to the Jesuit stronghold. But look at Washington, D.C., 187. Look at George Washington, who was cool with the Catholic Church. That's what made him different from a lot of the other founders who really were suspicious of the Catholic Church and the Jesuits. That's what people were trying to escape in Europe. But not George. That's why he gets to go down into his storybook as the first president of this country, even though there were really others. And, even though he got to go down that way, maybe he was starting to have something happen to him, because look at this. If you write out December 14th, that's the day he unexpectedly died, George Washington. It's 187 and 88, just like George Washington. And if you write out 1214, there's something about this number combination with these people, because that date, December 14th, is 1214. We've talked about many rituals with those numbers over the years. Think about December 14th. A lot of big things happen on that day. Sandy Hook, Sandy Lindsay, first COVID jam. Steph Curry with a 3-point shot record. It's weird how it's all shots, right? Basketball shots, vaccine shots, shots at a school. And you know about that school? It was established in 1956, and the shooting happened in 2012, 56 years later. It's funny. It's funny how it all lines up so perfectly. You see that 56 up there, right? You see those 56s, right? All those 56s. Got to look at the screen, otherwise you don't see them. For the person who's listening just in the background, they're like, I hate when you do that. Sorry, sometimes for the visual person. You trust me, if you're listening to this thing on a podcast, you already know what I was showing anyway. You know all the 56s that connect the whole thing. Okay, but yeah, those are the main points. And you know what? Here, just to take this further, let's do a live decode and look further into Sean Dawkins' career and his matchups against, the teams he played for, and also the team that we're really looking at, where all of these narratives seem to intersect, going back to Baltimore, like how his main team, the Colts, started there. And also there's a deeper connection with Baltimore, Miami, and Seattle. And what it is there was a football team once upon a time called the Miami Seahawks, and they folded and became the Baltimore Colts. And of course, now you have the Seattle Seahawks. There was something going on with that with the NBA Finals this year too, involving Colorado, because you had this history with 8 seeds and 1 seeds in Denver and Seattle, and then it ended up being Denver and Miami. I got to go back over all that. But again, there's a cabal that's been here since the beginning of the nation, where, again, they're using the tactics of Babylon, Rome, all these empires of the times, the tactics of the way for the rulers to control people. And the game, the circus, the Colosseum, it's a big part of it. So again, imagine, even though the Jesuits are, the modern Templars, the Templars took knowledge for them. All this stuff goes way back. This thing's a well-oiled machine, like literally going back to Babylon, this way of operating and doing things to have influence. So when people think about how unfathomable this is, you have to realize you're talking about orders that have preserved ways of doing things that seemingly have been perfected the way these people got society around their finger. That's how they're able to achieve this the way they do. They set up this system. They understand this system better than anyone. Like, people watch me and think, I'm impressive. Imagine how impressive it is to put all this together. I'm just the one like taking a decade to put it together as well as I have now. But yeah, I mean, this is something super powerful. And what people should realize is that they have to work this hard to perform these rituals to keep us in this spell. There's a reason that they work so hard to do it. They know that they can lose control of humanity. That's what I'm here to remind people about too. Get yourself out of this spell. Stop doing what they want you to do, pouring money, attention, energy into their things. People will call me a hypocrite because I have people gambling on the games. I don't have people putting a lot of emotional investment in it. I'm saying, here's the way the games are rigged. Take advantage, but don't pour your heart in emotionally to the outcomes of the games. And if you're gambling so much that's creating an emotional response, that's not right either. But if you can be smart, intelligent, and use knowledge to benefit you, that's what I'm trying to achieve. It's just like some people can't achieve it, then they get mad at the teacher. You know, teachers have a lot of great students, but it doesn't mean everybody who went through their classroom ended up being great. Anyway, let's go back and look at Sean Dawkins' career and see if we can spot any interesting games. So I'm going to use Football Reference. If you're not familiar with this website, there's a basketball reference, there's a baseball reference, there's a college baseball, there's a college basketball, there's a college football. And recently, for the sports that are male and female, they've added all the women's stuff too, which is actually nice because we didn't have that years ago. And now you can do more with the women's. And Kayla's taking advantage of that. Kayla Decode Talker's doing a great job really decoding female sports, showing the same things going on in the WNBA and elsewhere. But okay, Sean Dawkins, 93 to 2001. And remember the 30-year return to Saturn? 2001, the key digits in that are 2 and 1, like 21. And remember, those are the key Saturn numbers, 93 and 21. And 21 is interesting because it's the sixth triangular number, which means if you add 1 through 6 together, it's 21. And the sixth planet is Saturn. Okay, so Sean Dawkins, game log, let's see. I think it's just going to be regular season games. Let me see. Yeah, I think it's just regular season. So we're missing his postseason games, but we have his regular season here. And let's see here. Okay, so this is his entire career. This game, how do I see what team he was playing? Okay, so this was Indianapolis at Jacksonville, the first time those teams ever met. December 10th, the day leaving 21 days left in the year. That game was back in 95. Baltimore 95, okay? Baltimore 95. Colts won that game originally from Baltimore. You know, if you went to Baltimore, you'd find a lot of Colts fans that are older. And they'd be like, well, I grew up loving the Colts. And, of course, I love my Ravens now, but Colts are my original team. You know, that's what happens when a team leaves a city. In a way, it can grow its fan base, get even more people to care about that team. And the Colts are a very historically relevant team. I noticed they won that game with 41 points. That's a Super Bowl number. That's interesting. Baltimore's also got that Gematria 41. So they won with 41 in 95 in Baltimore. And just, again, when we first started, ciphers on the left, alphabetic order, numerology. That's where we did almost all of our work. Notice how in reverse, Baltimore's got that 58, like the upcoming Super Bowl number. Here, let's see. With Seattle, he also played against Jacksonville. So he played 2 games against Jacksonville in his career, one with Indy, one with Seattle. And played a whole season with Jacksonville. Okay, let's see something else. Indianapolis and Seattle play each other a number of times. They played in 94. Just to come back to that Super Bowl 48 that the Seahawks won, Denver's 94, and Seattle, Washington's also 94. And 94 was a huge year for Seattle. Bill Gates became a celebrity that year. Kurt Cobain in Seattle died that year. Just lots of 94 crap with Seattle. Notice even how coronavirus pandemic, and Bill Gates called it, right? The man in Seattle, he predicted it. And it just happened to be the first case there in the land of the Space Needle, the world's biggest needle in King County when Corona means crown in his own backyard. And coronavirus pandemic is also 94. And you should look into his decade of vaccines that he declared in Davos, Switzerland, which is also 94, 1 decade before COVID. And you see how Davos, Switzerland, 68 and 94, like Seattle, Washington, is also 68, 94. Coronavirus was coined in 68. And there's even more to say about it, but you know what else is interesting about Seattle? We've seen some major 247 stuff going on in sports since the country turned to 247 years old, and the Illuminati. And Seattle, Washington is 247 as well. To pay more attention to what's going on with Seattle right now in sports. Remember what happened on the Illuminati's birthday? That huge 76ers upset, the 247th win versus Boston on their 247th birthday when the Illuminati was founded in 1776 as well, just before America. Illuminati May 1st, this country July. Okay, but 94, Indy and Seattle. 94, they played 2 times because this is back when Seattle was in the AFC. They must have both been in AFC West back then. Indy won 31-19 over Seattle. Go figure. On the day, leaving 27 days left in the year. All right. Seattle, the only 19 city. Saints, the only 19 name. He also played him again in 97. I'm only gonna blurt something out if it stands out super in a big way. Okay, then Seattle. Jags in Seattle also had a game in his last year, October 7th. 15-24. Seahawks alone 24. See that number a lot with the Seahawks too, 24. Came at 38 date numerology. Okay. Let's see. How is New Orleans abbreviated is what I need to find out. NOR. Okay. Don't get dizzy as I spin around. Sorry. Got to get back to the top. Indy versus New Orleans. They played November 12th. That's the Superior General's birthday. That game was in 95. Indy and New Orleans. Remember, this year the Super Bowl is on the Vatican's 95th birthday and Baltimore's 95. But November 12th, the Superior General's birthday. Interesting. Besides the matchups, it might be another thing you guys can do. I'll save it for you for things, but if you want to look and see what his greatest career games were, could also be symbolic. 2000, 20-10, Seattle over New Orleans. We saw that game against Pittsburgh on October 29th. His last career game before 9/11 was September 9th, Jacksonville versus Pittsburgh. Okay. Yeah, so those are some surface level thoughts, but there might be something deeper in one of those games. Again, sometimes you do your homework, your due diligence, you unlock something and you feel super confident. And years where we've nailed sports futures from way out, it was because we unlocked something that looked really good. And again, just to summarize, somebody out there could say, "Oh, he's just trying to make everything go back to Baltimore." But if I'm trying, I'm also succeeding. If that's your attitude, because every point I'm making is factual. And man, there's been a lot of Campbells recently. I didn't even notice that. Be careful with Campbell's soup. Anyway, I just want to go back to this recent death from this offseason. Joe Campbell, he died on the day that we call the kill date. There's one each month. The kill date for this month is tomorrow, August 13th, 2023. There's one day a month that has the numerology that overlaps with kill. I should say at least one day each month, but there's one major day, which we call the kill date. So I just want you to see what Joe Campbell went to college at Maryland, born on 5/8, dead before the year of Super Bowl 58. He's also born in Delaware, Joe Biden's country. They're always doing stuff with the presidents too when they're in office. But he was drafted by the Saints and played the majority of his career with the Raiders. Okay. And again, Derek Carr going from the Raiders to the Saints. This Super Bowl was originally supposed to be hosted by the Saints before Vegas got it. Just lots of little stories adding up. And with regards to the 104th NFL season, and just all the deaths that have been connected through 104 as well, going back to Baltimore that we've been documenting, I just want you to see the 104th pick of the draft. And let me see if they got that here. 104th pick, Jacorian Bennett, drafted by the Raiders. And where did he go to school? Maryland. You know? Baltimore 95, the Super Bowl on the 95th birthday of the Vatican. Vatican, Catholic. Baltimore, Catholic. Saints, Catholic. I'm not saying go bet the house on that Super Bowl matchup, but there's narratives right now. If you follow those storylines, they should lead to fruit at some point in this season. You can wait long, you can keep following the thread. But again, the way I like to bet is bet small to win big. See what a parlay right now would pay if you just bet $10 on Baltimore to face the Saints in the Super Bowl. What's a $10 parlay payout on that? You know? And again, I mean, you can get a good payout off $10. You don't have to bet the whole house to get something. And if that narrative looks better as the season goes on, I mean, you can put more down on it. Or if those branches, starts looking like, whoa, the Seattle Seahawks, who are they this year? It's like, well, that narrative that we were looking at, that's part of it. There's something going on, with how all of that's structured, these four teams. But out of those teams, the one that it goes back to me is the one that's the same pattern I've been documenting all summer. So that's the way I'm looking right now. But yeah, what would annoy me is if it's a Super Bowl Sunday and it's not that, and I'm getting an email about, man, Zach, I put $1,000 down on that Super Bowl and didn't. It's like, I never told you to bet $1,000 future on both that. I mean, there's a narrative. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. But we've hit the narrative a lot. That's what I'm saying too. And a lot of people who've taken my advice, they've been around here for years, just making small bets, turning $5 into 50, 5 into 100, 10 into 400. Some days you can do that. You make betting not stressful, lucrative. You keep it fun. It's never breaking you. It can become a long-term habit that's not a bad one. So, again, for a lot of people, gambling destroys them, but doesn't destroy everybody. It's changed a lot of lives around here. That's all I'm saying. So, anyhow, thank you to everyone who does support the work. And if you guys want to join us, we'll be doing live streams soon. It's football season's almost here. I'm debating. I've always charged $5 a month for all the sports content, and I'm going to keep it at $5. But the thing I'm debating on is maybe for the live stream tier, maybe just make the price a little bit higher, because I'm worried that some callers that try to call in all the time are the same people that troll all the time, and it just seems like they're trying to waste everybody else's time. And I'm just hoping the trolls, maybe if it costs more than $5, they won't bother. So, but at $5, you'll still get all the notes, all the information. Just want the live stream, might charge a little bit more. So I'm debating on that. You guys can give me feedback on that too. But yeah, again, $5 a month gets you a ton of awesome content. It helps you support this work, which pays for, the apps that are out there, the website, freetofindtruth.com, where you can network and share information about sports decodes even for free. There's a community on there decoding sports for free together each day. Can totally do that. And yeah, again, the day this movement gets as big as it should be, day it's going to have the impact it deserves to have. So yeah, R.I.P. Sean Dawkins. Again, if you got here late, rewind. Rewind. What we started with is the 4 teams he played for and how all 4 of those teams come together October 29th with what's going on in the NFL. Also, a game between Jacksonville and New Orleans, which are both connected to Andrew Jackson in primetime in the week before. But how on October 29th, it's 81 days after the day he died, rituals 81 like Dawkins, and all of his teams are playing in clear symbolic games. So got here late, rewind, and maybe I'll take a couple questions or observations from the chat real quick. Yeah, that's what I mean, Chris. $10 would pay 1,750. And see, that's what starts to happen in people's minds. They're like, well, man, Zach's gotten a lot right. And what I really need to change my life is $100,000. And even though I really don't want to lose this $1,000, I might turn it into 100,000. So then they end up betting 1,000 instead of $10, which my advice was $10. And then I'm hearing about it. I'm always hearing about when things don't come through. Way more than when people complain about the negative, and it gets annoying. So if you're the person who bets $1,000 on what I said and it doesn't come through, don't cry to me because I never said bet $1,000 on it. But exactly, $10 can win you almost 2,000. That's great. Imagine that you have that football future alive in the playoffs. It allows you to do some other things with some hedging to make sure you make money in the playoffs. Because again, it's math. That's the thing about doing something like this and making it a hobby. It can actually sharpen your mind because you're having to think each day and do math. If you have a future alive and you have a strategy through the playoffs to hedge against that, you can ensure that you make money. Again, wise men hedge their bets, but yeah, again, responsibility is so crucial with this knowledge. Look into the death of Joe Cap. Seattle playing Baltimore last night in the MLB. Thank you, Eric. Shout out to Eric. Eric's always got great information in the chat. Eric came out and pounded pavement with us all over California, and he's got a job and a family. He drove all the way out from the Phoenix area and stayed out there for days, and then he had to hustle back. And shout out to the community linking up. So I think Eric's collaborating with some other truth seekers and helping out with the making sure his vitality goes long. Anyway, let's go back and look at that Yeah, because on the day that the news broke yesterday, August 11th, you do have Baltimore and Seattle playing each other. And again, Nancy Pelosi's brother died the day Baltimore and Seattle are playing the NFL. I knew there was something to it because that game was funny that day. I'm on the wrong day here. $9-2-2-9 football 29. I see the Orioles stayed on 71 wins in that game. Weird somehow how the primetime game is 71 days later, the big Catholic number. Mariners stayed on 52 losses. He's dead at 52, right? Dawkins equals 45 like ritual. 63 is a Major League Baseball number. They went with the 63 wins into today, the 63 date numerology. Yeah. I see Kyle Gibson, he fell to 11-7. Again, the All-Star game was in Seattle on that date, the 11th of July. And the day before that, Guerrero Jr. won the home run derby, and he came into the derby with 117 career home runs. Major League Baseball equals 63 forwards, 117 in reverse. Mariners got the 63rd win. He fell to 11-7. Again, they just hosted the All-Star game. That game was 31 days after the All-Star game, 11th prime number. Luis Castillo came from Cincinnati. Luis Castillo, who got the win, came from Cincinnati, big-time Jesuit town. Gonzaga, the other Jesuit school in Washington State besides Seattle U. Again, there's only 27 Jesuit universities in the nation, but 2 of them are in Washington State, which goes with George Washington becoming president the year Georgetown was established, the first Jesuit university. I don't even want to go over the Elgin Baylor, Gonzaga thing the other year, but I was going to say Cincinnati is the main drag on the Gonzaga campus, Cincinnati Boulevard. So, and Reds, again, there's only 2 teams in Major League Baseball with a 19 connection. Of course, one is Seattle because it's the city, and then the name in MLB that is 19 is Reds. So I wonder if there's something to that too. Cincinnati and Baltimore play in the same division in the AFC North in the NFL. And Cincinnati and Orioles have the same colors. Again, if you can follow the riddles well enough, I mean, how well I've done, there's so much room for improvement. That's why there's all these people that like to compete now and use my name to claim that they're better. One poor soul who's definitely not. He said that I couldn't even decode international football, and then his World Cup pick whiffed, and we nailed it. I mean, poor guy. But anyway, people will get better. And there could be people out there right now that are better. But I think a lot of people are trying to do way too much. It's usually right on the surface. You just got to catch what they're doing. Yeah, I'm gonna have to think more about that. There might be more to it. There might be more to it. Mm. But yeah, how many more will there be? I mean, Sean Dawkins is part of a long list. Part of a long list is Sean Dawkins. See if there's any new breaking headlines about his death. Causes cardiac arrest. Made his heart stop at 52. But let me measure Jim Irsay's, and every story I've read has mentioned Jim Irsay's name first next to his. And Jim Irsay is like always buying the memorabilia after people die, like Prince's guitar. Jim Irsay's it's so perfect that Jim Irsay's birthday is June 13th. That's the day leaving 201 days left in the year. Indianapolis Colts is 20. Wait. Indianapolis. What? Oh, I'm tripping. It's just Indianapolis. That's what Indianapolis 201 connection is. It's the city. Indianapolis is 201. It's 60, like how he died on 60 date numerology. And you see how the Jesuit orders 201 and 84. Again, the Colts moved to Indianapolis in 84. Again, just those Jesuit fingerprints. And you know how we were talking about how he died 30 years after being drafted. Again, Saturn is 93. He was drafted in 93. Saturn's return is 30 years. Colts also has that 30 in it for the record. Drafted 30 years ago by the Colts. But Saturn worship. You see how it's 201? And things like Saturnian order are 201. Sacrifice to Saturn is 201. And remember, Pope Francis, his birth name is Jorge Mario Bergoglio. He's the first Jesuit pope. His name's 201, and his birthday is December 17th, Saturnalia. Last year, the first Saturday game on Saturnalia was the Colts with the crazy game against the Vikings. And the Vikings are the only team in the league whose full name is 201. There's only 2 teams in the NFL with the 201 connection, Minnesota Vikings and Indianapolis. And, just to make the point about Indianapolis, when Gonzaga lost to Baylor in the championship in college basketball the other year, the coach for Baylor went to Butler in Indianapolis, and he won the championship 201 days before his upcoming birthday. And then Elgin Baylor had just died at age 86. See how Jesuits is 86? Baylor scored 86 in the championship, but the championship was 201 days after Elgin Baylor's birthday. Again, he's Jesuit educated. And then the next year in the tournament, Delnardo Webster died 1 year to the day of him. He went to the Jesuit school, St. Peter's, in the 201 area code that had their Cinderella run through Peacock Day. Big joke. Their last win on Peacock Day, and then that was it. And then last year, Creighton had the really good season, and their former Jesuit star, he died 1 day before the anniversary of the other two Jesuit players dying the years before. And Creighton went the furthest out of the 4 Jesuit schools that were in this year's tournament. So, anyway, again, all sports connected. There is something about Seattle and Baltimore playing last night, and numbers right in that fit. And again, I mean, we're showing this year after year. This isn't just some isolated thing. It's not just, you got to pay attention. Every time this comes around, we're showing the same thing. Played in Seattle. A lot of the media showed the picture of him as number 81 in Seattle, even though that wasn't his main team. And again, they stayed on 52 wins, beating the red hot Baltimore, the original home of the Colts, the team he started with. Let me look at a little bit more at Baltimore's schedule and the Seahawks schedule. Seahawks start the year hosting LA. They do play Cincinnati because Castillo, the pitcher, came over from Cincinnati. Play the team that became the Baltimore Ravens, the Browns. We talked about that one. Oh, and then they play the Ravens the very next week on remember the 5th of November, the very Jesuit day. Weird. So the Seahawks after that. So if you got here late, again, October 29th is 81 days after his death. Dawkins 81, Ritual 81, number 81 for the Seahawks. So plays the Browns, the old Browns became the Baltimore Ravens, then plays the Ravens, the old Browns team. And again, the Colts started in Baltimore. Then the Seahawks host Washington. And Baltimore and the Commanders, the Ravens and the Commanders, they're not that far apart. They're playing the Commanders on the Superior General's birthday. Man, I better the worst thing that could happen for me this NFL season is if the Seahawks won, because a guy called in a few weeks ago, and I had not done my homework yet, but I had not really seen anything to have me thinking Seahawks. Still having a tough time with the Seahawks. They got some interesting stuff going on in their schedule. He said he did the homework. The Seahawks will win the Super Bowl this year. I bet he's thinking that because it's their 48th season and they were in Super Bowl 48 again. Again, the whole 8 seed, 1 seed history, like this year's finals, the first 8 1 seed in the playoffs was a Denver and Supersonics, Seattle Supersonics back in the NBA playoffs. Got to go back and check. That might have been in the year 94. Got to go back and look at that. But okay, that's an interesting stretch of games they got there. Got to keep an eye on the Seahawks. I hope they're getting blown out so I don't have to worry about eating crow. But here, all these teams we brought up real quick. Let's look at their schedules. Let's look at Baltimore itself. Oh, somebody sent me the HBO football show. The HBO football show. Hard Knocks. The show, I guess, begins with the Jets coach who came over from the 49ers, the first Muslim head coach in America, which is interesting because, again, he's the New York Jets, which are part of that 1968 ritual. Again, if you don't think about it, you guys, 9/11 was blamed on Muslims, right? He's the first Muslim head coach for the Jets. 1968 was the Jets' only Super Bowl winning season. Yeah, I know they wanted to be in 69. It's still the 68 season. 68 is the year 911 became the dialing code for emergencies. World Trade Center construction began. Bush got out of Skull and Bones, where Walter Camp's also from, who American football's credit to. Anyway, Baltimore won the Super Bowl to start 2001 before 9/11. I noticed this preseason, Eagles-Ravens. Let's pay attention to this tonight. The reason why is because Robert Saleh, he said to open the show, he talks about the way an eagle kills a crow. And ravens are like crows. But he says what an eagle does, because he says a crow's a dangerous bird to hunt. But he says the way it kills the crow is it snatches it so that it can't attack. And then it doesn't want to let go of it all because it's so dangerous if you let go. So what it does is it just flies really high because it can fly higher than a crow and survive. An eagle can breathe at a much higher altitude than other birds can. That's why it soars higher than any other bird, which is why it has the predatory advantage. But he says it just flies the crow up in the sky until it suffocates and dies. And then he can eat it. But it's like, okay, what? That's the way Hard Knocks begins? I mean, and I realize these guys are all part of the storyline, right? Getting paid the mega millions to go along with the script and, do those same anime moves. Oh my God, my team lost. Let me throw my hat down, my headset. These days, my iPad. I'm so mad that I lost this game on that boneheaded play that's just unbelievable because that wouldn't even happen in Pee Wee football. Again, that's all it takes to make the fans look real. I see it because I see it in the comments. What do you mean the game's bullshit? Didn't you see the way he was reacting? It's like, God, these guys. D-level acting's all it takes. It's the answer to the Orwell question. Okay, but let's look at the Ravens outside of the preseason schedule. It's interesting, though, with the Eagles thing. Ravens, Texans. Okay, should we go back to the Ryan Mallett death since he played for both teams? Let's do that. Let's go back and look at how Ryan Mallett's death was. Went right in there with that Ryan from that band and Ryan Seacrest news all at the same time. So this was all in the news on the same day. Dead Ryans and Ryan Seacrest, the new host of Wheel of Fortune, all on the same day. And look how magical it is. Wheel of Fortune equals 74. Ryan Mallett was the 74th pick of the draft. And Ryan CU from the band that died 74 days before their album's new release. And again, if you're new here, 74, big time fateful number. There's a song called Gematria, the killing name. Gematria, killing, English, occult, energy. They're all 74 in the most simple cipher. So are a lot of other relevant words like stabbing, like the Ides of March. Remember the killing of Caesar by stabbings on the 74th day of the year. Don't forget what happened to, his name's escaping me right now. The guy who founded Square and CashApp. He was murdered on 4/4 in the week of the certification of FedNow after the Fed announced on the Ides of March that they'd begin certifying the first week of April. And again, the Ides of March, just remember the stabbing of Caesar in 44 BC. And then the guy who FedNow has to do with digital currency, pretty much like the guy who gave us digital currency gets stabbed to death in San Francisco on 4/4. The same day a champion bicyclist is ran over at age 44 in the same city. Cycles, rituals, symbolism. I think June 27th, if I'm not tripping, is the day leaving 187 days left in the year. Yeah, so all this was on the day leaving 187 days left in the year. Now we're talking about the football player dead 187 days after his birthday, coming back to that Jesuit homicide code. I have other posts. That's not the main post on Ryan Mallett's death. That's just an additional post. Here's the one. Ryan Mallett, just another one that went with the Ravens collection this summer, RIP. He was drafted in the 76th NFL draft and died on a 76 date numerology. Again, he was taken 74th overall. He died 66 days after the owner and the GM of the Ravens' birthday. It's two different men with the same birthday, April 10th, 10/4, like the 104th NFL season. But Ryan Mallett, 66, like Baltimore Ravens, like Houston Texans, like number of the beast, like mark of the beast, like what we just talked about with the latest ritual and what we've talked about so many times. It's all coming back to the beast. This biblical thing about selling your soul. Again, you don't even have to be a Christian to understand it. Just like this is the most sold story in the world, one of the most known stories in the world. And right from that story, you can see the people who run this world, they like to play games, taking the numbers from the book. All that 4 I was talking about with Kobe and Moses Malone and Moses winning it for the Philly while Kobe was 4. Again, the 4th book of Exodus, where Moses' staff is turned into a snake, like Kobe was the Black Mamba. Begins in Exodus 4:1, like Moses Malone and Kobe Bryant's 41, like they died at 41. But okay, Ryan Mallett died 75 days before the Texans-Ravens opener. Baltimore, Maryland, 75. Okay? That's where the game's at. Catholic Church, 75. He was 3-5 for his career and died at age 35. We talked about 35 goes with the eye, the shape of the football, why it's so big on Thursdays. Thursday and Catholic, both 35, 46. Surname Mallet, 83 like football, like murder, like Ravens. He went to the University of Arkansas, 87 like Jim Brown, dead at 87. I was just staring at something else, 87, and I decided not to say it out loud, but number of the beast is 87. What was I just staring at with the 87? Oh, yeah, drowning's also 104 to go with the 104th NFL season. Dead in the time of cancer, a water sign. Always some suspicious drownings during the water signs. Drown is 74, like he was the 74th pick. Again, like killing, like Wheel of Fortune going with the Ryan Seacrest news at the same time. Ryan alone 58, like Baltimore 58, like upcoming Super Bowl 58. Jerry Richardson drafted by Baltimore in 58, dead this offseason. All right, so Ryan Mallett, his death perfectly synced with the opener. Let's go back to Higgins, who played for the Niners and the Steelers. Clark Higgins, dead at 46, sacrifice 46, Genesis 46. Last year, remember how Coolio died on the 46th anniversary of Stevie Wonder's Pastime Paradise, the main sample for Gangsta's Paradise? Remember how it was all perfect? Gangster's Paradise, the gematria of that was the day of the year he died on. You know that when they get, because and Coolio later in his life said he didn't even know that was Stevie Wonder's song that he rapped to. He didn't know the sample was given to him. And I guarantee that the network that's into the Kabbalah and all this, I guarantee when they gave him the money in that song and that beat, they had it all written out. Gangsta's Paradise, the gematria, that's the day of the year that Stevie Wonder's Pastime Paradise came out. And then it was just a countdown to the 46th anniversary. And don't forget what happened this year on April 6th. They put out Coolio's cause of death. Who was it? There were three black dead. There were two former dead black men in the news whose deaths I'd covered in recent months. Both of their causes of death on 4/6, and then there was another dead black entertainer. I was like, come on, man. After teaching about this a gazillion times, now they're going to bring Coolio's cause of death after what we said was Stevie Wonder on the 46-year anniversary. But anyway, Clark Higgins, the name of the stadium that the 49ers play in, Levi Stadium, is also 46. And when they hosted Super Bowl 50, that was the 46th Super Bowl in the modern era. But look at this. He went to college in Colorado. He died exactly 83 days before the Steelers opener versus the 49ers. Football 83. Colorado 83. Remember, Bear Bryant, the football great coach, died in 83 on January 26. Kobe died on that day 37 years later. Moses Malone won the finals in 83. The Pope was 83 when Kobe died. Helicopter crash equals 83. Kobe dead at 41 on the Pope's 41st day of his age again while traveling from Catholic Mass. Murder by Numbers came out in 83. Jordan, Moses in the Bible saw the promised land from Jordan. Jordan's 60 right now. Moses Malone dead at 60. Holy 60. Again, it just goes on and on and on. Exodus 74. Moses Malone drafted in 74. Kobe dead in the 74th NBA season. He had the affair with the woman in Colorado. Colorado's also 38. The 38th state dies 38 weeks after his wife's birthday. Now, LeBron with the big 38 ritual this year, and then the 38th state, Colorado, wins the finals. Anyway, Sandra Bullock, again, we were just talking about that. I mean, now her partner's dead in the week that Ryan Gosling is connected to the other Gosling death when they're the stars of this movie. 83 is the 23rd prime. What year are we in when this happens? Clark Higgins, from his birthday to his death. 23 weeks. 23 weeks. In the year 23, the Steelers and 49ers are going to play each other for the 23rd time. And they saved the news of his death for 2 days after the death. Remember how they just did that with Sean Dawkins. They saved the news for August 11th. He died August 9th. They did the same thing with this man. So when he died, see, the news breaks 81 days before the game. Pittsburgh Steelers 81. And again, the Dawkins ritual. His teams are all playing each other, except for Jacksonville's playing the Pittsburgh Steelers on that day that's 81 days after his death day. So here it is in the same way with this death. The Rooney family are Jesuits that run the Steelers, by the way. And again, Catholic 46, Jesuits serve the Catholic Church. 170th day of the year, he dies at 46. Sacrifice 46 and 170. He won the Super Bowl in Michigan. Michigan 46. 46 and a half career sacks. But yeah, again, it's obvious that these are rituals. And these people are getting chosen because they have the right history, the right birthday. They line up right with this season. And I mean, we've covered so many deaths like this over the years, so many rituals. Thing is, in 2023, we see these rituals more clearly than we ever did before. And for me, the hardest thing these days is just finding the inspiration to decode past the surface, because it seems like when I look at the views, they're just going down over the years as we get better. And it says the average view duration's a minute and a half. So I'm like, well, I guess I better get the better get like the surface level thing you grasped in there right at the beginning. That might be it. Nathan sent a link, but I cannot. It doesn't allow me to click the hyperlink, so I'm gonna have to check that out. Or Nathan, if you want to post that, if you're still here, if you want to post that in Free to Find Truth, just up at the top, I'd be happy to check it out. I wouldn't get caught up in the whole Budweiser Bud Light thing. Again, those are just here, same number patterns over and over. Do I even got to go back to the whole Budweiser Bud Light thing? These companies rule us. They print the money when they need more. You know, that Anheuser-Busch thing, it's another big Jesuit joke by the numbers, and you can prove it all day. If I see anyone say they doubt it in the chat, I might just have to prove it. We've already proven it. I just got to go pull up the information. Prove it? Okay. All right, let's just go. Let's go back to what a big joke this is. Let's remind that this is bigger than football. Let me see if this post. I want to find the right post from recently. That's not the one I want. I'm going to have to type in Anheuser-Busch, but that name's too complicated. How do I spell it? Anheuser-Busch. Let's see. Why is the post not coming up? What's the oh, maybe I'm just trying to remember what I put in the post. The who's the person the controversy was over? Dylan something. Dylan Mulvaney. Hold up. Dylan Mulvaney. I got it here somewhere. What? How is this not coming up? May 24th, Budweiser. I must have spelled something wrong when I did the post for it not to come up. It was the 144th day of the year that Budweiser responded to the crisis. And hold on, let me get Anheuser-Busch again. I've been covering Anheuser-Busch and 144 rituals forever, since way before all this. Hold on. And then we'll talk more about what 144 is. Hold on. Okay, Anheuser-Busch 144, 54, 72, just like Jesuit order. Again, Budweiser didn't respond forever, and then they finally responded on the 144th day of the year, day of Jesuit rituals year after year. And again, just to make a point about something that everyone needs to be looking at with 144 right now. Robert Kennedy Jr. officially signed up to run for president by filing on April 5th. It was April 5th. That was 144 days after the Jesuit Superior General's birthday on November 12th. Why does that matter? Because his father was assassinated running for president, and they said his time of death was 1:44 in the morning. I'm going to come back to 144, but just notice Robert Kennedy, 156. Robert Kennedy was shot June 5th, the 156th day of the year, and died on June 6th, 66. Robert Kennedy, 66, just like Suron. Okay, so rewind. By the way, Dealey Plaza and Ambassador Hotel both equal 54. That's where JFK and RFK were killed. But JFK was killed 144 days from meeting with the Pope on July 2nd, 7-2. Trump, he was at the Vatican with the Pope dressed for a funeral on the 144th day of the year in 2017, May 24th. And the upcoming election on November 5th is 144 days after his birthday. 144 days after his birthday. And again, they simulated the election in 2020 at Jesuit Georgetown, June 12th, 2020. Look it up, the Transition Integrity Project. They simulated that Biden would win the election. He would narrowly beat Trump. He would refuse to step down, and it would lead to deadly violence in America. That's scenario was simulated at the Transition Integrity Project, exactly what played out in all the Jesuit rituals since January 6th and beyond. And again, you just follow the whole 144 thing with Biden, with Trump, with puppets like Elon Musk. Elon Musk unbans Trump after 144 days. On the day leaving 144 days left in the year, it comes out that a warrant was served to Twitter to get Trump's, past tweets that have been deleted. Blah, blah, blah. Same stuff over and over. History repeats itself. Lincoln shot on 14/4. Elon Musk offers to buy Twitter for $54 a share on 14/4. Shinzo Abe, spelled Abe Abe, spelled the same way, like Abe Lincoln. He's in the news on the anniversary of the Lincoln assassination. He gets assassinated, so we're told. Shinzo Abe. His assassination a year to the day of Haiti's assassination, and the leader of Haiti who got assassinated, whose name escapes me right now, equals 144. This year, I'm talking about all this stuff all day on August 9th, the day leaving 144 days left in the year. By the way, that's the day Sean Dawkins was killed, the day leaving 144 days left in the year. All day I'm talking about this. This is what I was covering all day. Just the history of assassinations, where all this is going, how we're getting all these pieces of the puzzle that are leading to something, and how it fits in with the historical timelines. And then what happens on that day? The leader of Ecuador is assassinated, and he was born in 63, the year JFK was shot. And the leader of Ecuador was killed 63 days before his upcoming birthday. And we just had the member of the Dead Kennedys die at age 63, the drummer from the Dead Kennedys. Again, JFK killed in 63 in an assassination at age 46. Joe Biden's number 46, elected 46 weeks after the Pope's birthday. Beau Biden died in the big Jesuit ritual age 46. And Ecuador was established 46 years after America. And then you just have the whole special counsel thing with Hunter Biden and the big Jesuit ritual. And that guy who's in charge was appointed on the 46th day of the year. And then he becomes the head of the special counsel for Hunter Biden 177 days after his birthday and 177 days before Hunter Biden's upcoming birthday. And look at the Jesuit order. It's 177 and 201. Beau Biden died 201 days before the first Jesuit Pope and the first one to live in Suite 201 at the Vatican's birthday, which is on Saturnalia, which goes with the Saturn worship thing. Again, all this stuff comes together. They got the whole language, calendar, Kabbalistic code, the zodiac. They got it all lined up, you guys. This system that we're decoding, it's super genius. Why'd he die at 68? Wise guys said, you didn't cover why he died at 68. Here, like I just said, look at this. Catholicism is 68, right? Solar system, they began as a sun cult. Solar system is 68. Mathematics is 68. This year's upcoming basketball season is going to start on the day leaving 68 days left near October 24th. And watch if they put out the schedule August 17th. I'm watching to see if they do it again this year on August 17th. It's 68 days before the first game. But again, you guys, it's all mathematics. Mathematics and Catholicism. You see how mathematics is 68, like we just talked about, also 185, 112. Look at Catholicism. 68, 185, 112. 1 plus 1 is 2. Every day it's 1 plus 1 is 2. On the calendar that goes back to the Catholic Church, it's named after a pope that has 52 weeks in the year, like 52 cards in the deck, like we're being played a game with every day. Like Sean Dawkins' death is part of that game. Because they know not only does it hurt Sean Dawkins and his family, it hurts all of his fans, all the people that celebrated his football legacy, all the people that are his age right now, older than him, that remember him, that are saying, God, man, another one that didn't live that long? Makes you feel like, man, I could go any day. That's what they want. They want everybody with these thoughts in their head. They want everyone with negative thoughts in their head. They want death prevailing in people's heads like they have it every day in the news. You think about death all the time, it probably does take years off your life. How many times have you heard the story about a guy who had like really bad cancer and he didn't know it, right? He was living, and maybe you know something was a little bit off, but he was living. But then the doctor told him he had really bad cancer, and then he just died rapidly. Man, he's dead like a week later, days later, a couple weeks later, a month later. That happens all the time. It's very possible that had he found out that he was with that deadly cancer 2 months earlier, the same thing might have happened. Again, all this ancient knowledge, letters and numbers, Gematria, Kabbalah, all this stuff, Hermeticism. There's all these different teachings. And in Hermeticism, which I think is really the most important of all these occult teachings, because it's a short read, the 7 Hermetic principles, short things to read, but profound things to think about. But one of the principles is all is mental, mentalism. The mental is all. And we allow our minds to be controlled with all this stuff all the time. I mean, look at all the football fans going crazy because their team didn't win, or they can't believe the way they lost, or they can't believe that call. How can this ref be back this year? He's fucking us every year. Because it's meant to. That's what this whole thing is. I think you treat people a crazy way, they'll be more likely to believe in crazy-ass bullshit. I think that's also the other big Catholic trick. You know, they got you believing in crazy things. You're not even thinking, you're just believing. And every Christian religion that's not Catholic, you guys are all believing in the same thing that they spread all over the world. Don't even get it twisted. Protestant Reformation. I think it was just a way to spread the spirituality. We need more believers, less thinkers, more turn the other cheekers, more give Caesar what's his. Let's get this book and this teaching everywhere. You don't like Catholic? Here, we got a whole new brand, Protestant. That's why the IHSs are all over all the Protestant churches at this day and age. It's all part of a big joke. You guys saw how they just did that, right? And they cloned Tyrone about the secret lab under the church that's messing with the black community. It's got to know that right behind the IHS is the hidden button to get to the lab. They're tearing black people apart with what they're putting in their food, their drink, and their music. That's what the movie's about if you haven't seen They Cloned Tyrone. See, that's the thing. That's the thing that's annoying about society, right? Everybody's like, man, you think they cloned Jamie Foxx? Really? That's what you're going to talk about from that movie, huh? Just the title? That's the conversation you're going to have from that movie. You think they cloned Jamie Foxx? We don't know what was going on with Jamie Foxx, but we know he spoke out the day that They Cloned Tyrone came out. What really matters in that movie that everybody should be talking about is this movie just said the church is fucking with black communities through food, music, and drink. Let's reflect on that. Again, there's literally a scene when they go in the secret lab where these two black guys are beating the shit out of each other because they're blasting this song into this room they're in called Kill a Motherfucker. And then they change the song to like Hug It Out. And then they stop fighting and they start hugging. And it's just like, God, this is messed up, man. It's just like in the 80s. You start pumping all this gangsta rap music. Who can sell the most on the street? And the next thing you know, you can't build enough prisons and they're all full of young black men who were so influenced by Eazy-E and all these other things. And you know, I was just watching this documentary for 50 Years of Hip Hop. And part of it was talking about Eazy-E, and they're saying how he didn't even want to rap. He like wasn't comfortable rapping, and it took him a whole bunch of takes. And meanwhile, people were rapping at that time, and they were talented people. So it's like, how does Eazy-E become like this figure? And remember, Eazy-E died 201 days after his birthday, after the Lethal Injection album, like the 201 Men in the Control Group and the Tuskegee Experiment and everything else. But I just answered the question, but it's like, yeah, why is he the guy that becomes the mega rap star pushing gangster rap if he's somebody that doesn't even want to rap and is not that good at it and has to do a bunch of takes? Other guys can just do it. Again, it's because these are the guys who sold their soul and were chosen to do it. We're going to get them. You're going to practice a lot and get good enough to do it. They could have got somebody else who could already do it. Maybe that person didn't want to just like push an agenda, or was smart enough to see the way it was going to play out and say, I don't think that's the way I want to be known. I don't want to say that on the record. I don't think that. Anyway, speculate on all that, but I know I'm not mistaken about the day that Eazy-E died 201 days after his birthday, which is also the day they put out the first Kobe Bryant shoe after his death in the big Jesuit ritual. Event 201 was the simulation for the pandemic. Kobe gets buried in Corona Del Mar. Pandemic's declared 201 days after his last birthday. All right. Link up on Free to Find Truth. Thank you, Nathan. I will get it. More Alabama news. High school basketball player collapsed and died on court. Of course, in Alabama, right as college football season's getting underway. It's just going to get worse as the season approaches. Same stuff every year. It's sad. It's sad. Let me find this post that Nathan wants us to see real quick. Post. on Free to Find Truth. Hmm. Yeah, I'm not sure that I like all the new sections on Free to Find Truth because, like, right now the top post isn't there. So Nathan posted in a section that I'm not sure which one he posted it in. I would have thought it would be in breaking news and headlines, but let me see. Sports news feed, could it be there? I liked it when everything was just in one place, just rolling through the feed to see everything going on the site, since the site's not that big and busy. Um, Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. I'm just going to Nathan's page here. See what he's got. Eight minutes ago. This is the suspect super chat link I sent. What is the name of the person who answers the question? Okay, before I even watch this, remember the day that Tony Siragusa died for the Ravens? And man, there was in that same news cycle, there was another Baltimore Raven dead. So you had two dead Ravens in one news cycle. And then Jeopardy that night, the final Jeopardy question was about Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven, which is what the Ravens are named after. Murder by Numbers 123. It's as easy to learn as your ABC sang this group in 1983. Someone should call them about that. Hold on. I got to see this clip all the way. You guys, you're not going to be able to hear it because the way the sound is. I'll tell you what he says. Hold on. What? Come on, man. Is that a joke? Is that a major league coincidence or is that a joke? In light of that, hold on. I think they might have taken it down on the Murder by Numbers. People used to reference my website on the Murder by Numbers by the police, but I think they took that down. I know it's still up there on Gematria, the killing name. Yeah, it's not up there anymore. They took it down. But on Gematria, the killing name, a Slipknot song. Um, we gotta find the right. Anyway, you'll notice if you go in those songs on YouTube and read the comments, you'll see there's people that came there because of Gematria. So here, I'll look at the Alabama high school player real quick. 17 years old, number 3 high school basketball player in Alabama. Caleb White. We just had the Montgomery, Alabama thing so focused on race, right? And then Henry Ruggs is back in the news. He's from Montgomery. And again, that brawl was the day after Trump was in town at the hotel with the 201 on it, at the address 201. It was so focused on race, right? And the black man was wearing the white T-shirt. And then next thing you knew, Casper, the DJ, was dead from Chicago as they banned the ghost guns. Andre 3000 has the verse about, black men who wear white shirts. Now it looks like a nightgown. They need to turn it a few sizes down. Anyway, Caleb White. Let's see. Man, he's in college? High school? That man? Wow, he looks old for his age. Might just be the picture, but man, I would have thought he was a veteran in the NBA. He's in high school? Caleb White. A Jefferson County High School basketball standout died Thursday afternoon. On a Thursday. Pinson Valley High School senior Caleb White suffered a medical emergency at school. Life-saving efforts were started at the school, and White was transported to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. The incident happened in the late morning. Principal Michael Turner announced the student's death in a note sent to parents, which was later shared with media. Turner said counseling would be available to students and staff in the coming days. White's grandfather, George Varnado Jr., posted on Facebook that, Well, he looks younger there. That other angle made him look older, but he looks like a man child. I'm sure he is number 3 in Alabama. That his 17-year-old grandson claps while working out with the team. Caleb was an honor student, very respectful, high intellect, excellent role model, phenomenal basketball player, ranked 25th best point guard in his class in the nation, number 2 in the state of Alabama. All right, they're number 2, the other one number 3. It can be harder to do it for high school people because there's not as much information about them. But he died August 10th, Thursday. And we can just look to see if the gematria of the school or his name interacts. But Pinson Valley High School, 115 is a killing number. Pinson Valley's got that 56 like Alabama and Jewish. And Caleb White. But yeah, again, just his surname. Caleb White's also got the 56 like Alabama and Jewish. I just think about his surname right after the focus on race with the brawl. I'm sure there's more to it. Have to go back and look at his high school career, last game. Let me see if that's something we can get. Pinson Valley high school basketball. Let's see if it's out there. They went 29-1, 4-0 in the region. 10-0 at home, 8-0 away, 11-1 on neutral courts. Their first game of last year was remember the 5th of November, the day leaving 56 days left in the year. November 5th, 115. So again, I just saw Caleb White was 56 and Pinson Valley High School was 115 and Pinson Valley was 56. So it's funny that their first game of last year was on 115, 11/5, the day leaving 56 days left in the year. That's interesting. All right, here's their schedule right here. They won that game 85-71. Their next game was on the same day. Oh, it must have been a tournament. Well, one was in Birmingham and one was in Troy. Huh. 2 games in 2 cities on the same day? I don't know how that works. See, last game. Last game of the season was the only loss. February 22nd, the 53rd day of the year. Let's see. So he died Thursday, the 10th. Last game, February 22nd. He died 169 days later. That stands out to me because the square root of 169 is 13, and that's the number I associate with Alabama all the time is 13. Alabama 13, 169 days after the last game. You could also say it was a span of 170, and we just talked about that a minute ago with sacrifice. But yeah, it's sad, man. I mean, is it possible that it was something else? Part of the experiment? Yeah, but the numbers are just so. Yeah, it looks like this school's not just your ordinary school. It looks like they might be doing things a little bit different. To look more into Pinson Valley High School. See what it says on their wiki about the school. It's in Birmingham. 5th largest of the Jefferson County Board of Education's 14 high schools. See what year. It was established in 72. Old 72. The basketball team won area championships in 2002, 13, 14, 15, 17, and 18. So they didn't win while he was there, but that is quite a bit. I'm not sure how many teams they compete with, maybe 14. They also won the Class 6A state championship in 2018. The boys soccer team has been to the Final Four twice and are currently coached. Okay. Um, the coach is Daryl Barber. See if there's any information on him. Daryl Barber fashion. All right, so this guy's known for being a fashion-oriented coach. Okay. See if there's any bigger articles about him. Local articles, just Alabama. It's not like he's a name probably no one outside of the state. Yeah, again, all I can say is that the end of the season and the start of the season had an interesting connection, but again, it's hard to do much of a decode if you don't have a lot of information on somebody. So, but yeah, a lot more young people with headlines like that in the last few years, where only one thing really changed in the world. Amy says, check out the Maui Mountain Dew post. Again, Maui's a fire god in Polynesian mythology, and happened on the big Jesuit day, Maui's burning, and the first act of weather warfare admitted to on the Jesuit order's birthday, August 15th, 1952. Let's see. All right, pulling up Amy's website. Maui burst Mountain Dew did it foretell the Maui fires. The island of Maui before and after doing the dew. The first release of Maui Burst was October 16, 2019. It burned down 69 days from the anniversary. It was released in Dollar General stores on the 16th of October. I see. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's possible that's part of the ritual. These mega corporations are bigger than just private companies, but it's not the thing I would lead off with in talking about what's going on in Maui. I'd stick with that Jesuit history, the birthday, the day that it was the big news, Polynesian fire god, trying to get an idea in the world's head. You guys understand that this stuff's going on every day. Here, let me just show you something that's undeniable. Here's something that's undeniable. Things like that, I do think that's interesting, and that's probably not a coincidence. But here's what's not a coincidence. Just like the bomb scare at the Eiffel Tower today. If you guys didn't hear about this, they had to evacuate the Eiffel Tower over a bomb scare. This is just spreading fear worldwide for national headlines with monuments that everybody knows. But look at it. It's August 12th that this happens. And it happens in Paris, France, the home of the Jesuits who are doing this shit. But look at the day that Eiffel Tower is established. January 28th, right? 128. Today's date is the 12th day of the 8th month. It can be written 128. And what is the Eiffel Tower? It's a radio tower, which is 128. And again, radio towers to send signals, to get out big messages worldwide. And that's what these people are doing every day. But their message every day is low vibration, death, fear, do this or else, conform like this or else. But yeah, just every day, just bullshit by the numbers. But yeah, great work, Amy. Thank you. You guys want to call in? It's at 1:04 p.m. I feel like that's the perfect time to stop talking about the upcoming 104th NFL season and death rituals. I'll take a. I'm out here on the West Coast for going. It's not 104. It is out on the West Coast. Now it's 105. But anyway, I'll take a few calls here real quick. I'm so close to being done with this short Kobe book, and I just want to finish it. But I'm also trying to get people hyped back up for the research and how powerful it really is. 10 years into uncovering what's going on, because we understand this stuff so well now. All right, you guys can call in. The number is 509-560-4982. I'll post it in the chat. 509-560-4982. For the guy who says the information is not powerful, please call in and explain why it's not powerful. I think that'd be a great call. I'd like to hear how it's not powerful. See what's going on in your brain. 816.
Hi, Zach. Kevin. Oh, okay. I've called for a long time. I'm grabbing notes here. If you can pull up, my niece was listening to this guy on YouTube called iTrek, Eyetrek. And if you pull that up, he has a video. And I only know this because I heard your voice. And I stopped my niece, and oh my God, I'm having an adrenaline rush. I'm talking to you. It's episode 9, down at the bottom, and it says numerology is deep, which I thought was kind of creepy. But if you go to 317, it's when he starts. It's when your voice starts. And at 542, he starts to notice patterns. It's kind of weird, in a cool way, because people are catching on.
That's good. That's the good part to hear.
Yeah, and they're sharing. Other people are sharing your work. And like I said, my niece was on the couch watching creepy TikToks.
Okay.
And it was creepy TikToks that will make you cringe. Episode 9, and your voice. You were talking about one of them basketball players, Cody, or something, and it really got this dude's attention. And I thought it was cool that he's sharing it, and then he made a comment like, "That's something to look into, patterns." And it was nice hearing that from like a creepy TikTok video, because you're used to all this other creepy shit. I don't know if they're mocking us or if he really, really, really was kind of like in shock as he looked if you watched the video.
Do you know what the channel is?
Yes, it's iTrek, Eyetrek.
Oh, iTrek. Okay, yeah, you gave that to me.
Yeah, I'm not on YouTube. I hung that up and I just called and was like, "You need to see this."
I think I'm gonna give TikTok a shot again. One of my first videos on there a long time ago, I think it's 2020 or 2019, was very successful. And then after that video, it's like I couldn't get any more views. I felt like I got put in an algorithm there too. So.
But it's not a TikTok, hon. This is on YouTube.
Oh.
He's iTrek on YouTube, but he shares creepy TikToks.
I see.
And I guess.
I see. Right here. Okay, I found it.
Yeah. I'll shut up now.
I got you. Okay, I'll check it out. And you said it's on episode 9?
It's episode 9, yes. At 317, if you don't want to listen to all the other stuff, it's when you come on, 317, and then at 542, he notices patterns, like what you were talking about. I don't remember because it's been like 2 weeks ago. But if you watch it, you can see what I'm saying and show the chat.
Yeah, I got it up here now. Yeah, I see it.
Okay, sweetheart. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, take care.
Bye-bye.
All right, I'll check this out later. I didn't know about this. 201 area code. 201? Hello? Uh-oh, I think we're getting trolls from the 201. I gotta change the setting. I gotta change the settings so you guys can hear the video. Let's just see the reaction here, what she was calling about. Let's see if this is a good thing or a bad thing. I guess it getting out there at all. The more people that share the work, the better. But if you ever use StreamYard, you have to go into the audio settings and cancel echo cancellation. Otherwise, you won't hear the video that you play. So let me just rewind a few seconds so we'll see if we can get any context and then watch. So this is about 20 seconds before our video comes up. Let's see how this goes if we can figure this out.
God bless. So in part 1 of the Takeoff Sacrifice, I dissected their latest video pointing out Takeoff next to the Grim Reaper and RIP poster, the to-30 connections, the way it's always synced up to news and sports, etc. So I decided since I left out so much I would make a more in-depth part 2 with more undeniable evidence. Sports and news sync reminds me of last year's Travis Scott incident.
Houston loses the World Series, right? Then days later you have the Astro World tragedy, and then right after that, UB40 singer Astro dies.
Then teams with Ukraine blue and yellow colors.
Okay, so he didn't really do anything on Gematria, but he got in the Houston synchronicity. Unless it's more in the video. It might be. I saw that he was putting up Gematria, so yeah, he's doing Gematria, so that's good. And he's got more clips, and he's got I think this is when Jonathan and I did the stream on Takeoff. I can see my bookshelf's pretty empty behind me. That's when I was moving out of my house. Yeah, that was back in last November. Okay, well, that's cool. Thank you to Clarence with the $3 on Cash App. Thank you. All right, I'll check out that channel. iTrek. I'll give them a sub. I like that they're getting Gematria out there. Let's see. Okay. I think we can leave it there for now, True Seeker, because Jonathan and I are going to be coming on later, as long as he gets off work on time or family thing, whatever it was that hung him up yesterday. If it's not today, it'll be tomorrow. But yeah, go get some writing done, and then when Jonathan's ready, we'll do the next stream today. Unless there's some other big news story between now and then, and I'll come back for that. So. All right, thanks again to everyone who hits the like and the share. And till next time.